All right. Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to the Russell Factor. I'm Shaun. This is Dylan, the D-Man.
Yep.
We're sitting here, man. I can't believe I was just looking, dude. It's June 3rd.
Flying by, huh?
We're halfway through 2024.
Doesn't it feel like it?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, how's your week been, man? How was your weekend?
Hey, it was good, man. Can't complain. Got a little sun in, went to the pool a couple times, so I can't complain. How about you, baby?
I feel like it went by way too fast.
Way too fast.
Obviously, there are some games we're going to talk about that I was kind of blown away by, I guess would be the best thing to say it. But no, I think the weekend went by too fast, man. It's crazy thinking we're halfway through the summer or halfway through the year, and we're getting ready to end the NBA. We're getting ready to end the NHL. We got football season right around the corner. Thank God, because I am jonesing. No, that's good, man. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll give some updates here for those of you guys that have been tuning in, following along with us. We have our future friend and buddy of ours, Apollo, is right around the corner. I have been working very, very hard on getting him coded and ready for release. That's not an easy task.
No, it is not. No, it is not.
But he is right around the corner. I'm shooting for probably a mid-June. I don't think I should take any longer than later than the end of June before we get him out there. But he's right around the corner, guys. I know I get people emailing every day. What's the update? What's the update? What's the update? I want him to be perfect. So that's why it's taking a little longer than I want him to do.
Perfectionist, man.
I know.
It's
true.
true.
Outside of that, last week we made some changes, and I think we're toying with a couple of different ideas in regards to how we're going to continue our podcast. We've gotten some feedback from listeners, subscribers, paid viewers on the russellfactor.com website. And we're just trying to toy with some different things and make some things happen. So be patient with us as we grow. But I also want to say thank you to everyone. We're about to hit 500 subscribers. We've been on YouTube.
Yep.
We've been on YouTube for 7 days as of today.
Yep.
And we're about to hit 500 subscribers organically. Right? That's awesome. I was telling D-Man here, I was like, this morning, I was at my office, and I had to chuckle because I was looking at our YouTube channel, just because we're constantly watching it now. And it's funny because I went from not caring a damn about social media. I didn't care about the hearts. I didn't care about the likes. I didn't care about the subscribers until I got into this business. Now it's like, it is a huge path of like, where are we going? Are we doing things right?
It's addicting now.
It's very addicting, but I had to chuckle this morning because I was on my phone and I was looking at our YouTube channel, and this video popped up, how I can teach you to get 500 subscribers in your first month of YouTube. And I couldn't help but start to laugh because I was like, dude, we haven't even been on 7 days and we're about to hit 500
already.
And so I just was kind of fun story there. But anyhow, that being said, thank you guys again so much. Continue to subscribe, share. We're putting out some shorts. We're putting out mini clips, which we're calling lookbacks. So for those of you who don't want to sit here and listen to us gab on for an hour, you can go back and just get the highlights. Some big talking points of what we talk about. Maybe we have a really good discussion on a game that's coming up. Like we got the Mavs and the Celtics getting ready to pop off. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But those quick little 4 or 5 minute clips. That way you don't have to watch an entire episode of this if you don't got the time. Right. So, that being said, man, anything for the viewers?
Hey, appreciate you guys so much. 500 subscribers in about a week. It's been phenomenal, and we just want to put out the best possible content. That's why, we kind of agreed we wanted to learn as much as possible throughout this process. But yet again, keep subscribing, you guys, and we promise we'll keep producing great value and great content here. That's
the whole goal, man. I don't want to put out trash.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we've been working on my studio and getting everything set up here. So we've got designs coming. We've got some other pizzazz that we're going to add to the videos and the content. So you're not just looking at a blank white wall behind us. That is all in the making right now. So be patient with us as we grow. Yep. But again, thanks again for everybody. But that being said, man, let's kick this bad boy off. The last 3-4 weeks, we've been really hyper focused on the NBA and the NHL playoffs because obviously those are the big bangers that get most people's attention.
Yeah.
I feel, I think we both were in agreement on this. I said we postpone talking about anything NBA related or even NHL related. Well, I guess we'll talk a little bit about NHL because we got some stuff right around the corner, actually.
Yeah.
And we got some recaps of what happened over the weekend. But I said we postpone the NBA stuff until we get closer. I think June 6th is the first game, right?
Yeah, so it's on Thursday.
So Thursday, so we'll do the live podcast Friday or Wednesday.
Yep.
We'll pick somewhere. We're gonna do, like we said, we're gonna try to do somewhere different every Wednesday for the live show. So we'll figure that out. We'll broadcast it out as soon as we can. But we'll talk basketball. Obviously, much more hockey come later in the week. But I guess tonight, man, let's kick off. You want to start with hockey? You want to start with some UFC? What do you want to do?
Just talk hockey first.
All right, man. I kicked off Friday. Go ahead and lead us off, man.
Yeah, so, this was just another classic game. I feel like all these games have been super close, super intense, and that Florida crowd was juiced up.
We're going to go to the Panthers-Rangers game. Okay.
It was buzzing. Buzzing. And, they just seem like in control. All of their wins, they've just been in control. Even when they're only up a goal, it just seems like, okay, they still have this under control, and you never felt like the Rangers were going to do anything crazy.
Yeah.
And, they won, 2-1. They got the Rangers got a last-minute goal to make things a little interesting. But in the end, the Panthers, they just get shots up, man. They did not want to take this to Game 7. They said, hey, let's close this thing out tonight. And they did it. Barkov, to check, right? But both those guys, they're just putting up shots left and right, really making it difficult for the Rangers goalkeeper, which I keep on. His last name's Terseskin.
Yeah, it's so hard to say.
It's so hard.
I don't even try to butcher it. For sake of the viewers, I don't even try to butcher his name, but I just call him the goalie. I just call him the goalie.
The goalie, yeah.
Absolutely.
I can't. But he was doing everything in his power to get the Rangers within striking distance so they could tie it. But in the end, it's just, and what makes it tough is that on the other side of things, Bobrovsky, he was doing his thing, man. Those are two goalies that are just in the form of their lives right now. And it's hard to get goals in between those two guys. So you can just really tell, this was a very, very even matchup. And the Panthers, they just, this easily could have gone to 7 games.
I think so. I agree.
Easily could have gone to 7 games. It just came down to small details.
I think New York giving up Game 5 in New York to Florida was a huge turning point for this Florida Panthers team. But I made some notes about this game earlier today, and you and I both, we kind of went back and forth on how we thought the series was going to go. I kept calling it a battle of the giants because you got two powerhouse teams. Every game in this series was only determined by 1 goal. Yep. So that's how closely matched these games were. The only game that was even remotely lopsided, and it really wasn't, was Game 3. And that was when New York was favored predominantly more than they had been any other part of the series. Yeah. Excuse me. But I think overall, a 4-2 win for the Florida Panthers. It started out, they come in and they lose games 2 and 3. So they kind of struggled in the first 3 games. They won Game 1, they lose games 2 and 3, and then they come back to win 3 straight. And they made some corrections, and like I said, the upset against New York in New York's own backyard, I think really was a turning point for this series, and I think there was no looking back after that point. So gotta say for Florida, congrats on your win, and best of luck to you in the Stanley Cup Finals. I think we're gonna see some great hockey, and I think we're gonna talk about. Obviously, we got to talk about the Oilers and the Stars next. And I'll just lead into it. Yeah. I watched this. I watched this last night, and I've obviously been a big proprietor of Edmonton going into this postseason playoffs. Kind of season, and Edmonton just they've done what they needed to do. They showed up last night. Connor McDavid. I want to say Connor McGregor. Connor McDavid. We're going to talk about him later. We're going to talk about him later.
We'll talk about him.
Connor McDavid who I've name dropped a handful of times over the last few weeks. This is his sixth year with the Oilers. Hasn't been to a Stanley Cup, yet. So for him to continue to excel, very huge. I like this. I like this series. I like watching the Oilers. Are they a match for Florida? We'll worry about that when we talk about some predictions a little later on. I think this ended up being a very, very good scored game. Edmonton, I think, did this fairly easily. And it's kind of looking at the same thing as Florida. You look at the last two games between these Stars and Oilers teams, and they both are 2-1, 3-2 games, right? So just, again, a margin of 1 goal.
Yeah.
Right? So it's crucial that, when we talk about this in a minute, but it's crucial that Edmonton, obviously, congrats to Edmonton as well for going and progressing into the Stanley Cup Finals. Going to have a hell of a time fighting this Florida Panthers team. Yeah. But great job, Connor. Great job, Edmonton. I hope you guys continue to impress me, and I'm excited to see what happens. But I'll throw the puck over on your side, man. What do you guys say about it?
This is a legacy-changing moment for Connor McDavid.
I agree.
For all the accolades he has and for all the accomplishments he has, scoring goals, assisting, points, all that good stuff, he needed to take his team to the Cup Finals at some point. Or else you're going to have to question, okay, is he really the guy that we think he is? And he basically laid dick on that game. He basically said, let's close it out. It was very ironic. Both these games, the Panthers, Rangers, and Stars, Oilers, they kind of happened the same way. The team that was going to close them out, the team that was up 3-2, scored, 2 goals, go up 2 goals. And then that's basically it. They controlled the game. Connor McDavid scored that really early goal in the first quarter.
Yeah, it was in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, something ridiculous like that. And then he assisted, I believe, in the second quarter, so they're up 2-0. But I mean, it was a close game throughout. And then the Stars get a last-minute goal, 2 minutes left, and so, Edmonton. I am surprised. See, I knew what they were capable of. But the Stars, it seemed like after they scored 3 goals in 3 minutes, they were never the same. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if, before they were taking steroids and now they got off the steroids, now they're not scoring. I don't know what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
But
that's a good point. I actually didn't really think of it like that. While we're on that topic, I'm going to step back one more second. There was something I was going to say about the Florida Rangers game since you brought up the scoring kind of issue there. Is the Rangers crickets all game, 3 periods. The Florida Panthers come out, they score in the first, I want to say 4.5 minutes, and then rest of period 1, nothing. All of period 2, crickets.
0.
And then finally New York kind of says, "Oh, I'm going to score a goal here," ties it up 1-1, and then Florida says, "Nope, not today. We're gonna end this now." So they end up going up 2-1. But it's just weird looking at how these scoring runs go. But back to you, man. I didn't want to take from your thunder there, but I mean, it is interesting to see these teams that they're down and their backs against the wall, and they come back and they score 2 goals, 3 goals, and then still not enough, or it's just enough to barely win by 1. It's just kind of crazy.
I think when it comes to hockey, there's more sense of urgency than say basketball or even baseball, because in hockey, it's totally feasible to go down 3-1 and you can win the series. Hockey is just such a I love the sport, but it's such a weird sport.
It is.
You can score 3 goals in the first quarter, and then the other team can score 3 goals in the second quarter, just basically, tie that thing up. It's so weird, but that's why we love it.
Yeah,
that's why we love it.
It's definitely an interesting sport. It's a sport that when you go down, like we said, you go down 3-1, it is hard to come back from that, because if the team you're playing is just on fire and they're ready to close you out. I mean, you have to play lights out to come back from a 3-1 deficit, especially in a playoff postseason scenario,
yeah.
Right? So, as opposed to a regular season game where you could be down 3 goals in period 1, and then you just light your ass on fire and you go balls to the wall, periods 2 and 3, and you end up going 7-3. I saw it with the Avs 3 years ago. They were down by 4 in the first period. They were actually playing the Edmonton Oilers at this time. I had my buddy Ryan with me. I was still back in Kansas City. They were down 4-0. The Avs come back to win 7-4. 7 unanswered goals. I mean, it can happen. It's just
It
those
can
things.
definitely
It's
happen.
one of those things that you can see. But anything else you want to talk about? I mean, so we've got some Stanley Cup stuff coming up here. Do you think? Let's do this. But do you think that this Stanley Cup matchup is this the best scenario possible, or do you see any other scenarios that you would evenly equate to what we're seeing now?
This is the best Stanley Cup matchup possible. Unlike basketball, where I could have named at least a couple other matchups I would honestly prefer. Honestly, but don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
This Mavericks and Celtics series is super intriguing. I'm gonna watch every single minute of it.
I'm hoping not to miss any of it.
Yeah.
So aside from,
I mean, it's kind of our job to kind of cover it.
Yeah,
A little bit.
But yeah, I agree.
But no, this matchup I really like.
And I definitely, since you brought that up, I definitely want to do like at least one of these games. I want to be a live stream during the
100%.
game, and we may even do an extended version where we do maybe an hour and a half or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but I want to do something interactive with the listeners and the subscribers for that, because this is a big time of year for basketball. This is the NBA Finals, and it's a big time of year. But I didn't mean to interrupt there, so keep going.
No. And there's a couple reasons why I really like this matchup. It's the best possible matchup. The narratives around it. You got Connor McDavid going to his first Stanley Cup. Legacy-defining moment potentially. Hopefully one of many Stanley Cup Finals. And then you got, absolute buzzsaw of a team in the Panthers. They're looking to prove that, hey, their dominance the last couple of years, ends up in a Stanley Cup, Finals, right? To host the Cup, right? So there's a lot of people trying to prove something, and either way, whoever wins, you're getting a great story.
I agree.
Either way,
that's the perfect way of putting it.
And aside from that, if we're just talking about the style of play, I mean, the Panthers, man, they come at you in waves. Their offense is, the thing is, if you're trying to contain the Panthers, you need a great goalie, an informed goalie, and you got to be stout defensively, man, because they come at you. They put shots up. We saw it with the Rangers. They put shots up, putting
23 to 10. Like, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, some of the numbers they put up was insane.
It's absurd. And so you've got to be prepared for that. When they go to a second line, third line, they can do just as much damage as the first line. So you're talking about a team that really has no weaknesses. And the Oilers, they play an exciting brand of hockey. In years past with Connor McDavid, he didn't really have the team necessary to go on a deep run, right? To go all the way to Stanley Cup Finals. Now he has the resources. Now he has the team behind him, and now it's paying off, right? Very similar to Luka. Finally has the pieces. Boom, I'm gonna take you to the promised land. Same with Connor McDavid, and they're no slouches. Obviously, they're here for a reason. They put up goals. They're very fun to watch. So, I'm just stoked.
You basically covered everything I was going to say with that answer. But I love this scenario. Like I said, I've been riding the Oilers since the very beginning of this, NHL postseason playoff season. And they've done nothing but impress me. Again, I love to see the Connor McDavid factor where he's finally going to the Stanley Cup. Now I think we talk about does Edmonton have what it takes to shut this Florida team down? And to me, that's a very hard question to answer, because I like the momentum that Edmonton has right now. I mean, Florida is a behemoth of a hockey team. They're just a juggernaut, right? Yeah. Edmonton is not quite on that size level, but they have this energy factor behind them right now. Yeah. And when I say that, I think of all the stories I've heard from the Luke Combs concert that was here this weekend, and they said that the energy when he came out and started singing, there was more energy there than there's ever been in an Arizona Cardinal football game. And it's the same thing.
To be fair, that's not really saying
so
much.
I know, but it's just I think about that. But I think about the energy, and Edmonton's got some followers. I mean, we saw some crazy signs over the last couple of weeks of people have traveling 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 miles to watch this team. They're following, they're backing, everything is there. Do they have what it takes to shut Florida down? I think if they play very, very aggressive and very smart, and they take more shots on goal than Florida does, which they can very well do. They're a very aggressive, shot-taking team. I think they could shut them down, but I think we got to also be realistic. And I think Florida is just They're just a badass team.
They're just a badass.
What do you
team,
think,
dude.
man?
It's just like, Connor McDavid is, reaching the Stanley Cup Finals at the wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, you can't really say that because shit. You want to go Stanley Cup, whichever year, right? It's a huge privilege to make all that far. But man, the Panthers, man, they're dismantling teams, like really good teams. The Bruins, I could if they would have somehow been the Panthers, they could have gone to the Stanley Cup. The Rangers, obviously, man, I think they would have won the Stanley Cup. They're beating teams that potentially could have won the whole thing. But this is just the baddest team of them all. This is like the Goliath that you always keep referencing to.
Yeah, they really are.
This is the team, but kind of similar to like LeBron. When he had to go against those Warriors teams, it's gonna take a Herculean effort to be able to take down
100%.
the Panthers. So,
100%.
and I know the Panthers are, man. If you lose the Stanley Cup Finals again, that's gotta be heartbreaking. I know that's in the back of their minds. They're thinking we do not want to lose this shit again.
I think that's why they've been playing with this mode of like, we are not doing this again. We're here to show you guys we're meaning business. And bring up a good point. Does Edmonton hoist this Stanley Cup trophy over the heads? At the end of this, I don't know. I think it would be an exciting story regardless. I think you put those words out there a little while ago. I think it's going to be a great story for both teams. Obviously, both teams want to win. That's not necessarily going to happen, but I think it's interesting because while we talk about Florida being this massive team, right? They're just a juggernaut of a team. Surprisingly, the lines for Game 1 are so damn close. It's almost hard for anyone to make a bet one way or the other. You got a minus 115, plus 115 line for both teams. I mean, that's almost nothing. That's basically a pin here, right? And so I'm interested to see if this moves anyway. I mean, you got two full teams. You got two healthy teams. You got two teams that are hungry. So I think this could be. However, the one thing I think is lopsided is the over/under. It's at 5.5 right now. I think you got two teams that are coming out here. They're gonna shoot lights out. I think we're going to see this game go 7 or above in points. So I'm definitely going to grab it and throw it on my parlay because I think you're going to see a high-scoring Game 1. And
trusted advice on that. You've been money on your hockey predictions.
So I really feel this is going to be a high-scoring, high-shooting, lights-out game. Both teams are coming out here. The only slight edge, I think, is Florida's playing at home to start Game 1. And that is going to be, I think that plays a little factor in there. A little bit. But I'm definitely running with the over on this because I think both teams are going to fucking put 25 to 30 shots on goal. And I think as a result, we see a 7 or higher point game. And that's just my take on it. So,
yeah. I mean, both teams are juiced for different reasons. Edmonton for, first Stanley Cup Finals appearance in how many years since Wayne Gretzky. Panthers going back thinking, okay, we're not playing, a Golden Knights team that was, they seemed like the team of destiny last year. So they think they're the favorites. And so, yeah, I mean, two teams that have every reason to think that, hey, we feel like we're the best team in hockey. So, is there anything else? Anything on your mind?
I'm just excited for June 8th, man. Let's go Game 1. Let's go Game 1. I'm excited. We may have to do something where we pick a game and we go live for one of the Stanley Cup games too. Just kind of keep it spicy, So, but we'll figure that out as we get a little closer. We've got a few days yet, so we'll figure that out. But yeah, man, I think that's a good synopsis / recap of what we think is going to happen and what has happened for the hockey's postseason going into the Stanley Cup Finals. Man, let's change directions. Something we haven't talked about. In quite a while, it feels like.
Yeah, it's been.
Let's switch gears to baseball, MLB stuff, man. And we'll keep it short because we're just gonna ease back into it. But I was thinking, we're midway through the year. Yeah. We're also midway through baseball season.
Yeah.
Which feels like I feel like we just had spring training out here in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Which was just it's chaos for those that have never experienced it out here.
Yeah.
And my office is really right across the street from one of the major training facilities that's out here in Scottsdale. But that being said, man, I think we talk. How about we go how about have some big surprises that we've seen so far? and some big disappointments. Want to take the wheel?
So, I mean, the biggest, I don't know if we want to call this a surprise, but I was pleasantly surprised of how well the Yankees have adapted to, acquiring Juan Soto. Getting him integrated with the team. And that 1-2 punch of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, that's got to be up there as one of the all-time, 1-2 punches there is.
That's a great
I'll
setup.
put that against anybody. Judge, his month of May was absolutely historic. I mean, he had 14 home runs throughout and then absolutely, how many? He had 4 home runs against San Francisco
the Giant
this
game,
past weekend. Just to put that in perspective, his 14 home runs equals Shohei Ohtani's total for the whole year. Aaron Judge has 21 home runs.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so it's looking like he's going to have another 50 home run season. Juan Soto, it feels like whenever he's up to bat, he sees red. He's going to zap one out to left field, go oppo. And he's just so clutch. Whenever you need, and I'll say this, Aaron Judge, for how great he is, the one thing where he's not so great is hitting in the clutch. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Juan Soto, no.
He goes off. He has these moments where he just goes off when it's not necessarily needed.
Yeah.
He just has these moments where he gets 2-3 home runs in a game, but when it's bottom of the ninth and you got two runners on, he's not. I will agree with you as far as the clutch aspect of it. He does have his moments where he not necessarily chokes, maybe just underperforms.
we can use choke. Hey, nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
But Juan Soto, he is everything you want in a superstar. He comes in clutch every time. At 19 years old, look what he was doing with the Nationals against the Astros. Man, he's my hero, man. He's
I like watching him play, and it's funny because he's such a power hitter.
Yeah.
And he's consistent power hitter.
Oh yeah.
And the dude seems to be able to place the ball wherever he wants it. If you watch his swings, it's he knows exactly where he's placing that damn ball if it's not going out of the stadium.
He hits rockets.
He does.
Yeah.
It's called NASA because that shit's going off the radar. But
yeah.
The one thing I like about Juan, since we're talking about the Yanks, is he seems like he's very mild-mannered. He seems like he's just a cool, chill dude when he's not on that plate.
He has that silent confidence.
Yeah.
He knows he's a man.
Yeah.
He doesn't need
That's a good way of putting it. I like that.
He doesn't need to say. He just lets his play do the talking.
Yeah.
So,
I like that.
I mean that was a pleasant surprise. A couple of their pitchers, Luis Gil and Clark Schmidt, 2 guys that were kind of fringe starters, having amazing years. So I thought they were gonna be good. I didn't know they were gonna be 42, 19, 60 games into the year good. So they're on a toward pace. They're gonna get 100 games, no question. And talking about disappointments, I mean, you kind of have to look at the 2 teams that were in the Fall Classic last year.
D-backs
and the Rangers,
yeah.
Both teams that are under 500. It's looking like if they're gonna sneak into the playoffs, it's gonna be as a wild card team. So you're kind of disappointed. You're thinking, oh, these teams are gonna build off that year. Have a 90 or 100 game year. It's not looking like that. So, but I get it. I mean, the Rangers, you just won a championship. Those championship hangovers do happen.
We've seen it time and time again.
Time and time again.
We've seen it consistently. It's kind of a joke too, but man, it really is a truth. There's a truth to that kind of shadow forecasting. It's almost like the Madden curse. It's like if you're on the curse, you're on the cover of Madden, you have the worst year ever. Obviously, the Chiefs changed that.
And you know which team was the last team to go back to back, or back to back to back? The New York Yankees.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking football for some reason. I was thinking Madden. I don't know where my head was at there. Yeah, baseball is totally.
We're talking baseball.
I know, but I got excited thinking football, man. Sorry, my bad.
And then the last thing I want to talk about is the Blue Jays. I expected them to be, having Vlad, having Bo. I thought they're gonna be that, young, exciting team to come out of the AL East. But it's been the Orioles actually that have just come out of nowhere and just kind of prove that, hey, we're the next team coming up, or we got a lot of young guys, a lot of studs on the team, and hopefully be in contention for World Series. And so I'm disappointed in those teams, but I mean, what about you? Any teams that you thought that
yeah, actually there is. I like you brought up the Orioles because surprisingly enough, they have some of the highest scoring games collectively in all of MLB this year. I mean, we've seen some 19 and 20 point games, but just their score.
Yeah.
They put out some damn numbers. But as far as I'm concerned, my surprises. Obviously, I'm rocking my Kansas City Royals hat right now. So seeing them in the AL Central, 3 games behind, to be doing this well when every analyst, every announcer, every baseball pro had the Royals being in the bottom of this conference from the jump. So to see them in second place right now, 3 games behind first, I'm super stoked. And they've been, you want to talk about a team that's been dismantling teams? The Royals have been 11-1, 9-2, 13-2. I mean, they've been destroying. They're on a kind of a soft streak right now, or a soft loss streak right now. But they've been just dismantling people. So 3 games back is really exciting for me. Yeah. I didn't think they were going to break 500. That's obviously not going to be the case. I think we're going to see a really good Royals team come out of this year. Yeah. As far as like some disappointments, calling out the D-backs, very sad to see that. I'm obviously not a D-back fan, but obviously our job is to talk about everything that we can, and to see them kind of struggling right now is very upsetting and kind of disappointing. I think you called out the Blue Jays. I agree with that. 2 other teams that I think that we haven't really that surprised me were also the White Sox and the Angels. Both of those teams are at the bottom of their divisions. So they also kind of disappointed me as far as what my thought process was coming into this season. I expect to see way more out of the White Sox, way more out of the Angels. Not seeing it. And then the team that is probably surprising me the most has got to be the Phillies. They have a commanding lead in the NL East. I mean, they're just destroying everyone in that division. So I think they're absolutely phenomenal right now. They're on pace to be definitely a World Series contender, which will be one of my questions to you here in a minute. But I'd say the Royals, the Phillies,
Angels.
Well, the Royals, Phillies would be the 2 surprises that I'm actually happy about, and then obviously the D-backs, the Blue Jays. The White Sox and the Angels probably the biggest disappointments, I would say, if I had to rank them there. But
great, so like half the teams.
Well, 6. So I went 2 surprises, 4 disappointments. My bad. So
fair enough.
But I'm an AL guy too, so I tend to be more optimistic on the AL side and more pessimistic on the NL side. So, but that's just a weird thing for me. So, since we're talking about it,
since we're on topic,
we are midway through MLB season. World Series in October is right around the corner, even though I feel like it should slow down. But what are your takes on who are some potential, as it stands right now, some future bets that you would put out there for World Series? We'll just say the World Series.
So I think, and I might be biased, but man, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the Yankees. To be in the position they're at without their best pitcher. The pitcher, Garrett Cole, who, mind you, won the Cy Young last year in the AL, he hasn't even pitched a single inning. And it's insane. They're starting rotations, the best in the biz.
Their bullpen is deep, too. Like, your guys' bullpen is
really,
sick. Like,
I'll be honest, we really have no weaknesses with our team. And so I'm sorry, I have to go with my team. I'm wearing the hat, too. They're the best team. The only other team that maybe... Man, I really like the Guardians. Who knows? I
like Cleveland.
That's a team that could just goes under the radar and then randomly, they just go on a hot streak and they go all the way to the World Series. And then when it comes to the NL, there's always a surprise team. There's always a team that they just come out of nowhere. Obviously they're in the playoff picture, but you never think like the D-backs, for example. Or the Phillies. People forget, when they made the World Series, they were a wild card team. Nobody really thought that they were going to make it. They thought maybe the Braves, the Dodgers. The Brewers, I'll be honest, that's a random team. I don't watch a whole lot of Brewers baseball. But that's a team.
They're on top of the division right now.
That's a team where, dude, they've had so many disappointments over the years. And I feel like they're bound to just get lucky and just make it to the World Series. It's just such a weird pick. It's mostly with my heart than my brain, because obviously the Phillies are better than the Braves, the Dodgers, but I don't know. The Brewers is such a crazy pick that I think will happen.
You said almost every team other than the one team I was really wanting you to say. That's my Royals. Even though they are second in the AL Central.
I don't know.
I know you don't. But they can do it. I mean, look at 2015. They came from the bottom of the barrel to work their way all the way up to go to the World Series run. Then comes back the very next year to win it. And
there's always a wild card team
from
each that makes it somehow. And so, yeah, you make a good point.
I like it. So, I mean, I like the Yankees, Phillies. I like the Royals, Brewers. I like the Yankees, Brewers. I like, I mean, there's a couple of scenarios there I see it happening. I would really like to see my Royals in it. Obviously, one of our teams is going to make it there. So, but I would really love to see the Royals. But I think the Yankees have a way better statistical chance of being there than my Royals did. But hey, I'm rocking the Royals hat. He's rocking the Yankees hat. We'll see what happens.
I think it's funny we didn't even mention like the Phillies, Braves, Dodgers, and I mean I don't know, man. Like,
well, the Phillies were my biggest surprises.
Oh, that's right.
The Phillies were my biggest surprise.
Yeah, the Braves and Dodgers,
they're kicking ass in their division right now, man. They're just kicking ass.
I mean, I can see Braves and Dodgers obviously, but I don't know. I feel like with the end
they're in the middle of their divisions right now. I think they can go either way. They can either slide or they can excel. But you got a lot of teams that are leading the divisions right now that are just playing great fucking baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah. So, anything else around baseball? I know we just eased into it. I know by the time we get to Wednesday, we got a lot of games that we can start to cover, get a little bit more deeper. Obviously, I want to start covering a little bit more of like the picks because baseball picks have been a big part of the VIP picks on WrestleFactor.com's website. So I want to start getting into some of those bets and start calling those out. You know, we went 19 of 20, 21 of 22. We had a 22 of 22, 22 of 22.
Massive numbers.
Like, we went hard, you know, the last couple of weeks. And so I really want to start diving into those and giving the listeners and subscribers a chance to really kind of, you know, make some money, be able to utilize what we're saying here to capitalize and pad that wall a little bit. So, 100%. That being said, man, I say we switch gears and we go to something that's near and dear to my heart. And I say we talk a little bit of some UFC.
UFC 302.
We had a UFC 302 fight card Saturday night. I'll tell you, I'll take this one. I'll start this one off just to kind of kick it.
Kind of your wheelhouse, huh?
I get excited when I get good cards. This, however, was what I would consider a middle ranked card. It wasn't a powerhouse card like UFC 300, and it wasn't like a UFC Friday
card.
It wasn't a Friday night fight night card where it was just a bunch of up and comers, more of a prelim type style fight night. But I gotta say, before we get into two things, I'm gonna call out two fights that most people listening probably didn't watch, and they were the early prelim fights.
Yeah. And
I was texting him during these fights. I was like, dude, are you watching these fights right now?
Nope.
And he wasn't even watching them. And so it was kind of classic. But Eileen Perez and Jocelyn Edwards, fight number 2, early prelims. These two ladies absolutely hate each other. Like, there has been so much bad blood. We got girl from Panama, girl from Brazil, or Argentina, sorry. Panama and Argentina. And there is so much hatred between these two that they can't even be in the same room to weigh in or do, like a promo for the fight coming up. They hate each other that much. This was probably one of the best bloodbath performances I've seen from an early prelim women's fight ever. All time. And that says a lot. I've watched a lot of UFC. I watched a lot. I really enjoyed this fight. It was freaking phenomenal. Obviously, Eileen comes out victorious. It was a unanimous decision. She was fantastic. But I think that was one of the best fights I've ever seen. Early prelim, women's fight, hands down. Followed right by, what's his name?
Kevin Holland?
Basel Hafez. Basel Hafez. Kevin Holland was on the main card. Basel Hafez and Mickey Gall. Was it Mickey Gall? Yeah, Mickey Gall. Basel Hafez and Mickey Gall. Sorry. This early prelim fight, these guys, I've never seen a fight of 15 minutes where it was literally punches, kicks the entire time. There was almost no downtime. These guys were hitting each other for 15 fucking minutes. Like, it was just all out. I'm going to knock you out. One of them was going down. I was like, there's no way this goes 3 rounds like this. It was absolute bloodbath. I finished watching that fight, and I was like, was that even real life? Like, what, did I really just watch that? Like, that was insane. So to see those guys hammer it out like they did, hands off, like hands down, gloves off, like that was one of the best male fights I think I've ever seen. At least in the top 5. It's got to go top 5. Like, I was just like, I've never seen that much gas for 15 straight minutes. It was absolutely phenomenal. That being said, 2 amazing fights. Great job, girls. Great job, Bazell and Mickey Gall. Like, I like Mickey. He's up and coming right now, but I like Mickey. But great fights there. I think if we're going to talk about this, we can start at the top. We can talk about Makhachev and Poirier, or we could go, Kevin Strickland or Sean Strickland and Paulo. Or what do you want to start?
We'll go Strickland first because best for last. I really stoked for talking about Poirier and
let's go Strickland and Costa then. So
I felt like, man, Strickland. You see him fight, and it felt like he had a game plan of how he was gonna operate. He was very methodical. It reminded me a little bit of Mayweather when he's fighting. He's not trying to knock you out, and obviously Strickland could definitely knock him out, but he was choosing his spots. Making sure when to jab, and then what really stood out to me is how he was controlling. Having that, like you always talk about when what the judge is great on is presence, control of in the mat, right, or in the octagon.
Octagon control, aggression,
100%.
Significant strikes and takedowns.
And I saw all of that with Strickland. He wasn't trying to knock him out. I mean, he could have, obviously, if there's an opportunity. But, he handily won each and every round, which surprised me when that one judge, right? There was a judge that gave it to Costa. I'm like, well, are we watching the same fight? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, it was really weird. I keep going. I didn't want to interrupt, so yeah. I'll say mine here in a minute.
Yeah, and, that was a fight where, man, you just really got to see what Strickland's all about.
He's methodical.
He was, picking his poison. And that was just a very mature fight from Strickland. And I've seen Strickland fight, several times. And
right.
That's just his MO, so to speak.
You brought up some really good points. I'm glad you said that because it gives me obviously some good segues into where I had some notes that I put together earlier, and so I'm just going to kind of free spirit it here. But obviously Sean Strickland, Paulo Costa. First off, I just got to say this for anybody that watched this fight. Am I blind, or does Paulo Costa look like he's 2 times the size of Sean Strickland?
He's got to be juicing. I don't know. Dude. He's huge.
He's huge. His definition is just insane. These guys are middleweight fighters. They're in the 175 to 185 weight class.
He looks heavier than that.
And I know, like I'm 180, and he's. I'm just like, I don't know. It looked weird. It was an abnormal looking fight. Obviously, Sean Strickland doesn't give a shit how big or how cut you think you are. He's gonna get in there. He's gonna do his deal. But I think that you said Sean looked like he had a game plan, and I made some notes where I said Sean is one of those fighters where he waits, and then he waits some more.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and then when he's coming at you, I feel sorry for any body part that's in the line of that sight. Because he's gonna hurt you.
Oh yeah.
And he doesn't look like it because he doesn't have that super Hercules looking conditioned shape.
He looks like a normal dude you find at a food city or like a Walmart.
Basic average stomach. He's obviously in great shape. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But if you put him next to Paulo Costa. Okay, that's a tongue twister. Anyhow, you put him next to him, and it's like you got 2 totally different physiques.
Yeah.
Right, and so it was like. Anyhow, I digress. Obviously, this fight was a great fight. I love it going the distance. I was absolutely floored when the judges came down. But for those of you guys who are listening, I love doing this, and this is something I really have enjoyment of. Is I call the fights immediately when they're done, and I give my count of what I think the scorecards are going to be. And I actually was texting a friend, and Dylan was right next to me, and I said it's going to be 49-46, 50-45. And then 49-46 with the judge that had been all night, mind you. This judge was off his fucking rocker. Like, every card was like, this dude isn't even in the same arena watching the same fights.
Is there any punishment for this guy for just getting completely wrong? Like, how does this even happen?
Well, you got Joe Rogan, you got DC, Daniel Cormier, you got all these guys that are like, what is this guy on? He needs to be tested for drugs.
Yeah.
And all nights, he was getting these wrong. And so I played that to my favor when I made this call.
Yeah.
And so, but we called it. I called it straight
You did
up.
call
It
it.
was perfect. And so it was kind of comical when I said it was going to be split decision.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then it happened. I was like, what in the hell are we? What are we watching right now? But anyhow, at the end of the night, when it was all said and done, I had just for my parlays, I had Kevin Holland winning, I had Sean Strickland winning, and then I obviously had Makhachev Islam winning. And so that looked good. That looked good for my parlay card. But anything else you want to talk about the Strickland fight or the Costa fight?
No.
It was a great fight. It was a great fight. It was a great fight.
It was a phenomenal fight.
And congrats to Sean, man. Hell of a way to come from the ashes and just beat this. I mean, Paula didn't have a chance. So
Yeah, he really didn't. You just saw the fight, like, man, he has everything under control. There's nothing really he could have done. But I would really want to talk about the Makhachev fight.
Let's talk Islam and Dustin, man. Go ahead and take it off, man, since you're already on it. So
Yeah, I mean, you're watching the fight, and it's like, it's so interesting because you're watching Islam fight, and he's mostly known as a guy that, likes to get you on the ground, wants you to tap out. Obviously, he has the skills necessary to knock you out, but that wasn't his game plan. He wanted to tire Dustin out.
Yeah.
He wanted to tire him out, and then he wanted to either make him tap out early on, or if it was going to go the distance, which it almost did, have you be so tired by round 4 and 5 where you're just basically in a situation where Dustin was, where he's like, fuck, like, I got nothing left in the tank. And that's what ended up happening. When Poirier was, when he was trying to fight back, and a couple of times he did escape from Islam, you just knew it was like an uphill battle. It was like, man, like, you could tell, like, his energy was sapped from, struggling to get out of his, his locks when they were on the floor.
That first 5 minutes of him attacking the calves didn't help either.
Yeah.
His calves were swollen. He could barely. You could tell he was having a hard time coming off. So when you're in like a traditional southpaw or even a cat stance, like you lean off your back leg, and he couldn't do it because he's an open traditional southpaw fighter, and he couldn't come off his back leg, so he had no lunge ability coming off because that calf was just getting wrecked.
He had a cauliflower ear, so that tells you everything you need to know. He was on the ground for a long period of time. And so, yeah, that whole fight, you just never thought that Poirier he really had a chance, honestly. That whole time, it was like, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Okay, when are you going to tap out? Or when is he going to knock you out? Islam controlled that fight, man, and, Islam is just a special talent.
He is a beast to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
I don't see him coming off the top of that mountain anytime soon.
No. He's special.
And
he's special.
He's very special. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about him and Khabib and kind of the similarities there in a minute.
Yeah.
But my take on this fight is, first I got to give out a shout out to both Dustin and Islam, because the one thing you hear me talk about this all the time is I like classy people. I like class acts. I like good sportsmanship. I hate people that disrespect the sport or they disrespect a sports person because they just got beats or whatever. I don't like that.
So you're a big fan of Max Holloway then?
Let's not go there. That dude is severely, he's got the biggest attitude I think I've ever seen. But you got to respect him too. I mean, the dude, he has a huge bark and he has a bite to back the shit up. Yeah. Like he comes right back, even though he's kind of lanky. He's a savage in the ring too. I mean, but he barks, gets under your skin, kind of like a Conor McGregor, and then cuts in the ring and just says, I'm going to back all this shit up. But, first, hats off for Dustin and Islam. I got to say, man, from the weigh-in, from the time this fight was announced, these guys have always been class acts. I love watching these guys fight. Yeah. The sportsmanship there is phenomenal. Hand tap in the beginning of each round, the hugging at the end of the fight, they just madly respect. Obviously, Dustin's #1 contender in the world. Islam is the current champion, still undefeated current champion. But I think overall, the first 5 minutes of this fight, Islam was attacking the legs. He wanted to make him weak. He wanted to take that status of the stand up and fight mentality that Dustin Poirier has. He's a striker, right? And Islam had to wear him down. He's not just going to go to the ground very easily. He's very strong. He's not going to do that. Yeah. And now we see rounds 2 and 3 where we had this kind of roller coaster of emotions. You see Islam, he goes on these 1 minute, 1.5 minute, like he's just doing his thing. And then you think, man, Dustin's going to go to the ground. He's going to get either knocked out or he's going to get submitted. And then all of a sudden he has this burst of energy and he turns around and he just goes, balls to the wall. And then you're like, oh wait, Dustin's coming back. He's like, he can get this. You get a little excited. But then ultimately Islam turns right back around and he does it again.
You make a good point because I remember seeing that and I thought, is the tide turning right now? Is Dustin? But then as soon as the round ended, he was back on his bullshit. It was like he was tired. Islam was doing exactly
some big Saved by the Bell moments in that fight.
Yeah, both ways, both ways, right? The first 2 or 3 rounds, Dustin got saved by the bell because he was, basically avoiding death. Like he was down there and he was like in dead waters, man. But saved by the bell, and then Islam was saved by the bell that one time. It looked like Dustin had some momentum, and then the bell saved him, and then it was back. Islam was then taking control of that the whole fight there.
You get this like almost lion heart energy. That was my brother's name when he fought in the ring, Jason Lionheart. But you get this kind of momentum where you get like this breath, and you're like, and you just go off, and it's like you hope that that's enough to carry you to a W.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. In this instance, unfortunately for Dustin, he was outmatched. Islam, obviously another methodical fighter, but he has a game plan, and he was like, I'm going to take out the legs, I'm going to get to the ground, I'm going to do this methodically, right? And so obviously for Islam, ends up getting a submission. What was it, 2.5 minutes left in the 5th round, if I recall. And ultimately takes out the W, and Dustin walks away. But I love the sportsmanship after the fight. Like, this was a super hyped up fight. People have been talking about it for 2 months. But these guys are such class acts. They hug each other. They have nothing but respect for each other. They respect the sport. They respect the style. They respect what martial arts is about. Martial arts was built around self-control and discipline. People forget that. We watch this stuff thinking it's gladiators and they're just beating the shit out of each other. It was built. Martial arts was built for self-control and for discipline and to harness energy. And we've got all these different styles, obviously, but that was the original creation of this sport.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind as you guys are watching these things moving forward, too, guys. That being said, man, I know we're at 52 minutes right now.
We got a lot to say, man. We got a lot to say.
We did have a lot to say tonight, and we didn't even really get into baseball that deep, and we only talked about basically a couple fights. So it just goes so fast. I mean, we don't have.
We could talk all day.
We could. Unfortunately, we don't have We don't have the people's attention that long to do that. But you got any last words, man? Any closing comments before we head out?
No, man. I mean, like you're just mentioning, those hats off to those fighters. A lot of respect. I know you're all about class acts. But yeah, man. I know Shaun was, and I'm sure you will get into this. We're making a lot of changes, a lot of modifications. We're doing some trials to see what, the audience likes. So, very excited and moving forward to, like I said, continue, putting out great stuff here.
And definitely feel free to comment below. Hopefully, I don't think we have any enemies, so hopefully everyone keeps the comments nice. Yeah. We're obviously not trying to be bad people or say bad things about people. So hopefully, but if you got some suggestions or maybe some ideas or maybe you think we could rearrange something a different way once we get, I don't know, whatever you think, man, we like the feedback. And we've utilized the feedback from other folks to do what we're doing now. Yeah. We're still growing, we're still moving, and we're sticking and moving and seeing what happened there. So, but
and if you got friends that you think that would really like our content, our stuff, by all means, feel free. It would really help us out, and the more people we can reach out to, the better. And obviously we love what we do, and if you know anybody that loves talking sports, loves watching sports, heck, maybe addicted to sports betting as well, and we can definitely help in that avenue. By all means, share it to somebody that you think would absolutely love this.
Absolutely, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And like he was just saying, we love what we do. Keep subscribing. For those of you who haven't had a chance yet, please go to therussellfactor.com. Subscribe to the podcast through there. Subscribe through YouTube. We definitely want the subscribers on YouTube. Also, for those bettors, like Dee was just saying, we have free picks. I put them out every morning. Yep. Free picks. It's between 5 and 8 picks depending on the season. And we have VIP picks. It's $30 a month. You can have all of my picks that we were just talking about, 19 of 20, 21 of 22, 22 of 22, straight picks for the day last weekend. These are things that we put out every day.
Just don't impress
for pennies. Yep. So please, if you don't like listening to an hour of us talking, go subscribe to the VIP pick list and, do your thing. Apollo, when he's right around the corner, he's going to be able to help you with that as well. So keep that in mind. He's coming. But again, we want to say thank you to everyone. Hats off to all the fighters. Congrats. Again, congrats to Edmonton. Congrats to Florida for making it to the Stanley Cup. Yep. And then obviously congrats to Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavs for making it to the NBA Finals. We're stoked. We're going to do some live content streaming for a couple of these games, so stay tuned. Yep. But until then, we'll see y'all on Wednesday. Stay safe, and we'll see you around.
Boom.